to us from Polk County, Florida. It is time once again for our Florida grown stories. The Garden, Florida. No snow, no cold weather ever in that part of the state. How wonderful a day. Beautiful sunshine, blue skies above. This can only be one place. It must be Florida. And it must be time for another episode of Florida's Grown. Our weird, unusual stories that we have plenty of and no one else can get. Let's get to it. Hello everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome back to the channel. It is time once again for our Florida Grown stories. And I'm really starting to like these. I mean, I get to hear them all the time, but when you say them out loud, it's just so different. Today's first story is probably a story you've been hearing in the news, possibly. Maybe, maybe not. Anyway, I definitely had to share my opinion on this particular story with you, simply because it is just ridiculously outrageous at this point. See, I think a problem in modern society today is that we don't use any common sense. We all want to follow the rules and do the right thing, but we don't apply them with any type of common sense, which can lead to exactly what I'm going to tell you about right now. Orlando, Florida, home of the happiest place on earth. Not so happy this week. Evidently, a 6-year-old girl had a small tantrum in class, got into a bit of a kicking fight with one of her classmates, and the school resource officer, which is a police officer, broke up the altercation, but decided that he was going to arrest both children. Oh, that's right, you heard me correctly. The resource officer, the sheriff's deputy that is in the school, decided that he needed to actually arrest the two children. He put them in handcuffs, he placed them in his squad car. One child was sent to the juvenile detention center, but for some other reason, the other child, the little girl that started the incident, she was actually brought to the police station and photographed and booked and placed in a holding room. Not a cell, but one of those questioning rooms that they put you in. Super traumatic for a child. You may say to yourself, this must be a rookie cop. This got to be some overzealous new police officer that's never run into this before. Unfortunately, this was a 20-year seasoned veteran officer who was actually already retired, but works on a volunteer, well, not volunteer, I should take that back, works on a as-needed service basis. So most of these deputies work in schools as resource officers, especially with all these school shootings we have here in Florida. It's a great idea, but I mean, no common sense, 20 years on the force, highly decorated too. Don't understand it. Absolutely no racial issue involved. Everybody involved was of the same race. So even the police chief couldn't understand why this officer would do this. The protocol is to call the executive officer, which is either a lieutenant or a sergeant or a captain, and they would decide if a person under the age of 12 was to be arrested. For some reason, this officer took it upon himself to say, I'm arresting these children, and I'm booking them. Insane, just totally insane. It made the mass media, I think it's nationwide at this point. But I just thought I'd share with you the mentality of some of the police down here. They always feel they're right, you're always wrong. Even if you're 6, obviously they show zero common sense. So, I know most people thought that this police officer was on suspended leave until after the investigation, but an update to the story, officer has been let go. He has been put back on permanent retired duty and will no longer serve in the school. Now, what will come of this? We will see. I believe there'll be some monetary payouts to the children's families, and that's all people ever look for, right? But you tell me, super lack of common sense, absolutely outrageous. I know you agree with me, but let me know in those comments down below. I'm curious to see if you're as angry and upset as everybody here in Florida is. If you like that one, number 2 coming up, even better. Our next story comes to us from Winter Garden, Florida. Funny, right? Winter Garden, Florida. No snow, no cold weather ever in that part of the state. But they insisted on being called Winter Garden. Who knows? Maybe there was a reason at one time. Anyway, this little story is terrifying and insane. See, I told you, the Florida grown stories, not like other news stories in your town. This story is about a burglary. Oh yes, very terrifying. Actually, home invasion, middle of the night, 4 a.m. Homeowner wakes up, hears a ruckus out in his kitchen, goes in there to find a man making himself breakfast. Yep, just standing at the counter, chopping up some greens, cooking some eggs, and frying some bacon. Man doesn't live there, doesn't know the homeowner at all, just decided to let himself into the house, showed up to do a little burglaring, but I guess got hungry in the interim and decided to cook himself some breakfast since it was already 4 a.m. But what makes this story even more unique is that the burglar told the homeowner not to worry about anything and just go back to bed. And he allowed the homeowner to go back to the bedroom, at which time the homeowner called the police. But our burglar, I guess, was not as dumb as we think he is. I guess he took his breakfast to go because he went on the lam as soon as the man went back to the room. Unfortunately, he stopped not far away to consume his food, and the police found him a couple of doors down, just hanging out eating. I don't know. You guys get that type of burglars in your community? They break in, make breakfast. You know what? Maybe if he would have offered to make breakfast for the homeowner as well, instead of telling him to go back to sleep, he could have made a friend, and the guy wouldn't have called the police on him. I don't know. Worth a shot, right? Why be so selfish? Dude, you're cooking for yourself already. Throw a couple of extra eggs in and offer the man some of his own food. Maybe he'd have went for it. But I don't know. You tell me. How often do burglars break into places and stop to make breakfast, totally ignore that you're there? Only in our Florida grown stories you're gonna hear something like that. But if you like that one, I still have one more juicy one for you. Let's check it out. All right, we have one more story. Our last story comes to us from Polk County, Florida. That's a county where they are extremely law-abiding citizens with a outrageous sheriff. And you don't spit in the street there without getting a ticket, so you would think that our next victim would have known better. Our next story is about a gentleman they're calling Paul Flart. Sound familiar? Like Paul Blart? Yes, Paul Flart is a security guard. He's not a mall cop, he's just one of your standard rent-a-cops. He goes to different facilities each night. But the difference with Paul, whose real name is Doug, has a habit that he's absolutely excited about and wants to share with the rest of the world. See, Paul, or Doug, loves to fart on camera. Yup, you heard me right. He likes to pass gas and film it. So for the past 6 months, or I guess in the previous 6 months, Mr. Flart, as he's so lovingly referred to now, works an overnight shift as a security guard rent-a-cop. I guess on his daily rounds of whatever facility he happens to be at that night, he is compelled to share his farts with everyone. His fart fetish is at such a high level that he has to videotape everything. So there is 6 months of him videotaping himself, farting in different situations at different job sites, and then he would immediately go post it to the internet. Well, we all know what happens when you do that, right? Of course, his superior caught wind of it. I love puns. And even though he was not advertising what company he worked for, and it couldn't be seen in any of the videos, people knew who he was by the uniform. They didn't see the badge, but you know, even though the uniforms are similar, they kind of recognized it, and then people recognized him as well. So, you know, leaving his boss no choice, they had to let Mr. Flart go. Sad, right? But I mean, guy can't keep it in his pants. What are you gonna do? Gotta let him go. Sticking the place up, man. Giving a bad reputation to the company. But don't feel bad, don't distress. Doug has decided that he's gonna turn this into a full-time job. I guess he wants to be a YouTuber and he's got a great start. He's gonna take his act on the road, gonna do his farting in all kinds of different locations throughout the country, film it and post it to YouTube. So get ready, people. There's a fart storm coming our way. He's also coming up with merchandise. Whoopee cushions, underwear liners, I don't know. I don't know what kind of merchandise. I guess t-shirts, everybody does t-shirts, but I'm curious to see. If he gets a t-shirt, I'm gonna buy one. Anyway, let me know. Have you heard this story? Do you know a person that loves to pass gas in front of everyone? Put it in those comments down below. I'm very interested in seeing about this. Of course, in Florida, super common. Other places, I'm guessing, not so much. But, y'all know how we do it here. Comment, like, subscribe. Love ya. See everybody in the next one.